and welcome. I'm Jade of Jaded Reader, and today I'm going to be going over some things I do to self-comfort. Within this list, I'm going to be talking about books that I am currently rereading, as well as recommendations for books that I just find to be comforting. Then I will go into personal things I'm doing in order to keep myself comfortable during this time. And then lastly, I'll open it up for taking breaks and venting. So that might be the end of this video for you. And I'll definitely have time jumps in the description box so that you are able to navigate however you see fit, as these are books I am using to create a stress-free environment for myself. And that may include for you not watching videos like this, so just take care of yourself. I absolutely understand, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. So first off, the thing I'd like to talk about is that I have figured out part of my process of reading during this time is not to just read new books. I was just continuing on with my TBR, and my first thought was, well, now I have time for it. And I realized that that is actually not something that's working for me. I found I was reading less than I was originally, and it was really stressful, and I couldn't quite figure out what the disconnect was between me having all of this time and me not being able to read about new worlds. I was able to connect to the fact that I am not feeling comfortable in this world, in my situation right now, really at all. And so I was hopping into a new world where I felt disconnected, and I didn't have a tether to look back and realize I'm in my world, because my world is vastly changing and things feel uncertain. So I was able to connect those pieces together and realize that I needed to go into worlds I already knew and I already felt comfortable with, which is what led me to start rereading some of these books. These are the books that I'm reading in the mornings. I'm reading them casually. Sometimes I'm chapter jumping. Sometimes I'm just reading a chapter, or I'm hopping to a different book entirely. These are worlds I'm really comfortable with, and they're just helping me both read and comfort myself. So here are the books I'm currently rereading right now. First off, I would be surprised if you didn't know this was on my list, and that is The Tea Dragon Society and Tea Dragon Festival. Both are by Katie O'Neill, and the first book is a really simple tale of these two girls connecting and becoming friends over their love of tea dragons and learning how to care for tea dragons, which are dragons with little sprouts of tea. They grow out and they're incredibly temperamental, and there's an entire way to care for them. I have several videos on this subject. I will throw up my recent reads for my graphic novels, which has some inserts of these books, and I compare them to Studio Ghibli, and that is because they're absolutely amazing and whimsical, and they just make me feel really good. They're really quick to reread as well. I ended up rereading the Tea Dragon Festival the day before yesterday, and it completely changed my mood. I read it outside. I felt really lifted by it. Also, a recommendation for you, if you are looking for a new book or hadn't really thought about picking these up, I highly recommend it if jumping into new worlds is helping you in this time. Next up, this was actually the book that made me realize that rereading was something I possibly needed to do in this time, and that was when I started rereading Juniper, which is the prequel to Wise Child by Monica Furlong. Now, it is a prequel, however, I suggest reading this one first if you decide to jump into Juniper, Wise Child, and Coleman, because I think that you get a different overarching understanding of where these characters are coming from, and this is a really simple story with a lot of parallels that lead into the further books. I absolutely adore Juniper. Juniper is a Cornish princess who grows up learning about magic. Her magic overall is really celebrated, however, she does come across different aversions, and when her dearest friend and cousin is kidnapped, she goes to save him and has to find out exactly how pampered she is and where her magic can actually lead her. This has some of the most, I would say, practical magic in my mind, and definitely is very comparative to the way I practice magic. I always find this comforting, but I found specifically comforting when I was feeling really down, and I have been enjoying reading this in my free time. These next books are absolutely wonderful. Even if you don't want to jump into a new world, putting this on your list of feel-good books. And that is the Penderwick series. Now, this is the first one, and it's the Penderwicks, A Summer Tale of Four Sisters, Two Rabbits, and a Very Interesting Boy. These books are by Jean Birdall, and they go through a generational tale of these sisters, starting with the oldest sister and leading on to the youngest sister as they all grow up. up. So each book ages up each girl, and you just get to have this really in-depth, thoughtful look into this family's life while also not having high stakes. The things that they're dealing with shouldn't be minimized, but they're definitely not in a situation that we are in, and it's just a very uplifting and optimistic look on the world while still tackling subjects that are important as far as individuality, feminism, growing up as a young girl, growing up and not fitting in, or fitting in and having siblings that don't. I really do just recommend this to anyone who's feeling down, and it's also really wonderful on audiobook. I have these both physically and on audiobook, and I would recommend either one. Next up, I was flipping through this just the other day, and I wanted to add it onto this list because it really is just a wonderful little story. I was laughing and like kind of chuckling to myself as I read it, and that is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. While this isn't seasonally relevant, I think that it fits just the quirky happiness of like being with your friend and going out on a really low stakes adventure. These two are about to go to college, and they are working at a pumpkin patch for the last time together, and they're really reminiscing over their times that they spent at this pumpkin patch and decide to go through the pumpkin patch themselves as they've never seen it as a whole. They've only worked there. These two coworkers have so much wonderful banter, and there's so much love and just like feeling in this one, as well as just quirky fun illustrations where if you look at the page and are rereading it for a second time, you already know the storyline and you get some of the little details that are just in jokes that are hilarious. After that, I am currently rereading this, and I admit that part of me rereading this is because so many other people seem to be rereading or reading this for the first time right now, and it has me just excited to talk about them, and I always want to be a connoisseur of Maggie Stiefvater's work, and that is very true when it comes to the Raven Boys and the Raven Cycle series by Maggie Stiefvater. If you don't know what the Raven Boys is, I would say that it's a very slow burn plot about a group of friends that are trying to complete a mission, but mostly just finding out about themselves and each other along the way. The writing in this is so absolutely fantastic. I look forward to each page, and I just can't wait to see what she'll say next or how she's going to describe these characters. The characters in this are why I read the book. I wouldn't normally go looking for a dead Welsh king, but if my friends are going on this journey, of course I'm going to tag along, and that's exactly what it feels like when I'm reading the Raven Cycle series. It truly feels like I'm with my friends, and in a time right now where I'm missing a lot of my friends, I'm glad that I'm able to spend times with these ones, because this is one of the books where the plot doesn't matter because you will enjoy the journey no matter what. And finally, for books I am choosing myself to reread in this time, I of course have already read like 6 chapters of Nevermore: The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. Okay, so the first chapter of this, I was rereading it and I realized I don't actually like the first chapter. Give it your 3 chapters to figure out if you like it or not, and you will like it. I don't know why people would dislike this book. That wasn't a challenge. I don't need you to be a contrarian. I'm just letting you know I can't comprehend it. My empathy goes only so far as to people not understanding or enjoying this book. Nevermore: The Trials of Morrigan Crow follows Morrigan, who lives in a really dreary, awful world and has a really dreary, awful family. Luckily, she's swept away by the wonderful, fantastic, personal book crush, Jupiter North, and he decides to ward her and take her to a magical world where magic and knacks exist. A knack is like a special quirk or ability in which you're able to do certain things. She becomes friends with dragon tamers, people who control emotions, and you are trying to figure out this entire time if Morrigan does or does not have a knack and what it even means to have a knack in the first place. There's so much to this, and there are so many themes and beautiful things about this book that you're just swept up and you just want to be in this world the entire time. And I find myself finding these really fun, fantastic quotes this time around that I really hadn't taken in the first time. So yeah, I'm rereading Nevermore. Who would have guessed? So that's it for my current rereads, the ones that I'm choosing to reread myself, but I do have some books on this list that, while I don't personally plan on getting to, are really comforting or low stakes reads that I think that if you're not just trying to reread books, if you are trying to intake books I'd personally recommend, as well as the books I just mentioned, that I think would cause low intensity fun enjoyment. The first up on my list is The Beast Player. This is by Nohoko Uehashi, and it follows Erin's journey as she comes from a line of beast tamers. There are different types of beasts in this world, but her family focuses on the Toto, which is like a water serpent beast that are incredibly ferocious and hard to control. And after the death of a loved one, she is brought up by a beekeeper and is able to find out a lot about herself. This is mostly a book, I would say, about self-discovery as well as just connection with animals, and I just found it really calming and really lovely. I would say that this never reaches like a high climax, high stakes moment in the book. There were definitely intense parts, and there was never a moment where I felt extreme sorrow or extreme anxiety. It was just lovely to read, and I really enjoyed it. Next up on my list of really calming books, I have Circe. This is by Madeline Miller. It also is not filming well. This follows the demigod Circe and the first official witch of Greek mythology in her side of the Odyssey. While the Odyssey is going on in the background, you have Circe's story. Circe ends up being this really compelling character, is living on an island, and you have her day-to-day life, as well as a minor retelling of the Odyssey from her perspectives. She hears news of things coming in and out. There are visitors and plot moments that do appear in the Odyssey, and I really just think that this book is very calming and comforting. Most of the book is her just being on the island, her trying to figure out where she fits in all of this, and just discovering her powers and how powerful she truly can be, while also having a hot take on men in Greek mythology and how a lot of them are pigs. I will say that there are trigger warnings for this book for sexual assault and rape. Also, do know that there are some intense moments as characters die or Greek tragedy moments happen. Most of the time this book was really calming, and the audiobook narrator is incredibly calming. I've heard that some people don't like this narrator, but I really liked her, and I just found she could put me to sleep in a good way. After that, I was just talking to my friend Rachel about rereads and what would make fantastic rereads, and if you have read The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, then I suggest reading it again because this would make such a fantastic reread, and it's such a whimsical, magical place. You have this story told by this narrator, and moments in between where this narrator will break narration to try and calm the children as she's telling this tale. I don't know why it's a woman in my head, but it's a woman in my head, sorry. And you have this cute little dragon Furion who is the purest being. I'll get to the plot, I promise. Essentially, you have a woman who's telling a story, and the story is about this village, and this village is sacrificing one of their children, I believe, each year. That's why I need a reread. While this village is sacrificing their children, it's to keep an evil witch away. I really like the spin on a very overused trope of an evil witch, in which this witch is actually raising these children, finding them homes, and when one of the children ends up drinking the moon and is blessed with these magical powers, she ends up raising the child herself. There are so many different perspectives in this book that are all beautifully woven together. If you are just looking to escape into something else entirely, this world is like nothing else I've read before. These characters are really sweet and cute and in depth, and all in all, I guess the simple answer is I really recommend The Girl Who Drank the Moon. After that, if you're just looking for something where you don't have to worry about it, but you don't want any of my super calm books, I have Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. Now, while this book is really exciting and really thrilling, I did find that the entire time I was feeling reassured in the plot, and it still gave a fresh take on a lot of moments. It has sirens, it has mermaids, it has pirates, it has a female captain of a ship, and Elosa, who is the daughter of the Pirate King, as this title suggests, is really fantastic. At first I didn't care for her. I found she was a bit over the top, but once you just accept this as her character, you see that she's really quite genuine and pretty badass. While this book does have high stakes in the idea that a lot of action-packed things are happening, I would say that I was pretty reassured the entire time of how this was going to go, while being pleasantly surprised the entire way through. Then I have A Natural History of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent, which is not the author, it's because this is a fake memoir, actually authored by Marie Brennan. Lady Trent is an absolutely fantastic Virgo of a character. She's very analytical, very precise, to the point. She has a wild side, but I would say that it's very tempered down by her being practical, and she practically thinks that she should be on a voyage looking for dragons in order to get a better understanding of them. She's always been fascinated by them, and while she grows up in an era in which women are not really included in all of the dragon voyaging adventures, adventures. She ends up finding her way onto a ship and onto a voyage where she proves to all of the people surrounding her that she is a vital part of this mission. And I mean, it's filled with dragons. You get such a really cool perspective on dragons. I've never read a dragon book like this before, and it's an entire series that I have yet to complete. The way that Lady Trent writes her story is a very practical, straightforward way. You feel assured in what she's saying. I will say there is a content warning for the fact that a dragon does indeed die in this book, but there's plenty of dragons to go around, so don't worry. Then I have two books that I normally do reread. I'm just not rereading right now, and they're just really fantastic and sweet, and so I wanted to add them on this list even though they're a bit older. I have Dealing with Dragons by Patricia Levenseller. This is a quartet, I believe, of a Princess Cimmerian who just does not want to be saved by a prince. When she is captured by dragons, she makes herself perfectly comfortable, befriends them, and ends up living with these dragons instead. She learns magic and ends up traveling the world, and the prince is honestly just a second thought. It's just really quirky and fun, and the witty humor that is throughout it always makes me feel good. It's also incredibly short, so quick, fast, easy, fun reads, and just a good time. Then my last book is one I used to actually read every summer until I started BookTube and didn't have time for that anymore, and that is Summer at Castle Auburn by Sharon Chin. This follows our main character Corey, who grows up part-time in the village outside of a castle and the other time inside of Castle Auburn. Her father was someone prestigious, but her mother was a healing witch, and so part of the time she is growing up with her grandmother and learning to be the village healer, while the other half of her time is spent at the Castle Auburn learning to be a lady. These two very conjunct worlds lead her to try and figure out a lot of things about herself, and there is also an undercurrent plotline that I remember as a young child really shaping how I saw the world and what was fair and right as far as how different people are treated. I think it's done in a really subtle way, very applicable to younger children, reading and learning about human rights as well as how to treat others decently and what it means to have a crush who actually sucks. There's so many fantastic things about this book. I have obviously worn it to bits. It smells like the old book it is, but I do recommend if you can get your hands on a copy, it'll be worth every cent that you probably pay for it. I'm gonna switch out that battery, delete some footage, and then I'm going to be getting into personal comforts of mine, which will also be talking about kind of my daily life. And if you are just looking for ways to escape, I would end the video here, and I will continue to give you small warnings as I go along that I will be talking about unsettling, not fun things. So initially, after spending several days just kind of not knowing what to do, I was kind of in a frozen space of deciding how I was going to structure my life in the short term. I decided I needed to create a schedule and routine for myself so that I was accountable for how my life was going to go on a daily basis. It also helps break up my day and make it feel more productive as well as just go by faster. My routine pretty much is 9 a.m. to noon. I am doing real productive like breakfast, yoga, workout type things. Then from noon to 4, I have BookTube and friend type things as well as Sims. That is the only time I am playing Sims. And then the latter half of the day from 4 to 6, I have family time. We're all really scrunched up in here. I'm leaving a very limited time amount for family so that by the time that rolls around, I'm missing them and wanting to spend time with them. And at 6 on, I'm having dinner and my evening is kind of a free roam situation. So far that's working for me. My other personal comforts are wearing really comfortable clothes. I did start out by like dressing each morning and preparing for my day, and that just was not working out for me. I need to be really comfortable and really casual. So I've been wearing my Dragon Ball Z shirt a lot. This is a shirt I got in like the 7th or 8th grade. It has holes in it. I wouldn't say it's a very flattering shirt, but it is truly like the shirt I feel most myself in. If you have clothes like that, if you have a favorite shirt or sweater, it's okay to wear it 2 days in a row if it's making you feel better. As well as my next one being no clothes. And if you decide not to rock pants for an entire day, I am right there with you. I may or may not be wearing pants right now. And it's all about comfort. So do what's most comfortable for you. And if you don't need to wear pants, don't wear pants. As far as socializing goes, because my partner and I are in a studio space, we technically don't have our own personal spaces. Creating an oasis for myself has been really important. And so I have my Snorlax in this area, a really fluffy cushion, a coffee table with a heater. It feels really personalized. It's very clean and well set up. And then the rest of my room is an entire disaster of a mess. It's not supposed to be that way, but that is currently the situation, and sometimes you're not gonna feel up to cleaning, and that's okay too. The point is to have a space for yourself where you can escape, where you can be away, and it's working out really nicely. And I hope that you guys are able to find an oasis or spot for yourself as well, even if it doesn't have boundaries or walls. I know that if I'm feeling really stressed with the things I need to get done, I can go to this space and it kind of feels like it's all a race. My partner and I spend time together, and then he has his own oasis and his own space where we don't really interact, and then we come back together and we enjoy each other's company. I know that that won't apply to everyone, but I know that it's really working for me. In this, I also have made sure that I break some of my norms and rules and created like small treats for myself. Last night, I did end up playing Sims after the 4 p.m. time, and like, wow, that doesn't sound scandalous to most people. Considering I kept my list pretty set, it felt like a small treat that I was giving myself. My sister and I are also planning on camping out in the backyard on a Wednesday, and I realize not everyone has access or privilege to a backyard, but I'm definitely going to be utilizing the opportunity I have to use that space. So on a Wednesday night, we're going to be camping, and it's going to be fun, and it's just like creating an optimistic outlook on an unusual or negative situation is something that's really comforting to me. I am finding ways to try and enjoy this situation. I know it sounds awful because this is an awful time, but because it's already awful and we already globally know it's awful and I am stuck in awful, I'm going to go ahead and try and make a positive situation, or my mental health will really be harmed by it. In this, I have really celebrated the fact that I can go camping with my sister in my backyard on a Wednesday. My entire family has a bingo board where we're trying to complete all of these things on this bingo board quarantine list, and seeing memes about quarantines and introverted lifestyles, and I've really enjoyed several of the humor and jokes that have come out of this, and that's not going to be everyone's personal preference, but for me, it really helps. We already know it's bad, so allowing a little bit of good in with the bad, I think is really useful for me, and I encourage you, if that's something you need, to not feel guilty about it, because it's not that you're not doing your part or that you're not taking this seriously. It's you trying to take care of yourself, and that's essentially what this entire video is about, is caring for yourself. I have also really enjoyed read-ins. Read-ins have been really popular on BookTube lately as far as my space has been put together, and my dear friend Rachael Marie has hosted a few where we're just sitting there reading and then chatting in between, and it just feels really good. It feels interactive, and so live shows and check-ins and read-ins. Soleil from Little Reader's Corner has been posting videos where she just has this relaxing atmosphere, and it's just her sitting there reading or journaling, and they're just really calming videos. Then apart from Ima, who right now is driving me insane, but is usually a comfort for me, I have vlogging. I have been daily vlogging. I haven't posted any of them, but I've been vlogging just about every day and kind of like going through what I'm doing, and it's been really helpful because it feels like I'm talking to you guys. I guess that won't really set in until you guys actually respond and comment and stuff. Yeah, as of right now, it's been reassuring to, as I'm going through, as I'm doing things, talking about what I'm doing, and so I will have those vlogs up with the understanding that it will have content going through my life and what's happening, and so you will have to decide for yourself whether or not you watch those or not, but it's helping me personally. So curate your space. Which brings me into the last section of this video as far as comfort goes, and it might also be the end of this video for some people because I'm really highly encouraging you to both vent and take breaks, and this might be the time where you take a break. I just spoke about curating your space and making sure you have a space on the internet that is helping you and caring for you is really important. My videos through this may not be helpful to you, and I do not take that personally at all. We are all trying our best to make sure that we are taken care of and comforted and doing our best in all of this. So I have designated time and places where I'm looking for those types of videos. I'm watching a lot of vlogs having to do with what's going on, and that's just a personal help to me. So my advice to you would be to curate your space and not feel guilty about doing so. We are all trying our best to take care of ourselves and take care of the ones we love. You can always skip on to their next video if they have one that doesn't have anything to do with what's going on right now. I also, like I said, have been taking time away from the internet, not just my friends. In the family time era of my day, I'm not on the internet really at all. I'm just with family. So I would say that also goes into taking breaks. I would encourage you, if you are trying to take breaks in this time, not to listen to my second half of this section. It is the end, so I hope you're enjoying the sun and stars wherever you are, and until next time. But yeah, I will be talking about venting and making sure you are letting out how you're feeling about the current global situation right now if you need to. Again, all those who need to curate their space, I am proud of you for doing so, and I hope to see you in a future video that has nothing to do with this. And for those who are feeling really pent up or possibly stifled by the situation, because we are all trying to be thoughtful of each other and sometimes those two preferences don't overlap well, I am definitely opening up this space to vent. I realize that everyone is having a really hard time in varying different degrees, but the point being is that we are all struggling and all going through different things right now. And then finally venting about it. Venting about the big and the little. Everyone's situation is going to be different, but in some aspect, everyone is definitely being affected. I think that's really allowed me to not minimize other people's situations, is realizing that we are all indeed in this together. And while it's really sad, it can also bring a comfort to know you're not alone in a situation, though your situation is singular. There is everyone having their own situation. Some of the big things that are going on in my life is I just got laid off. I actually got laid off on my vlog. It was really stunning to me. I didn't quite know what to do, as I had gone into my vlog saying that I had a work meeting and I had to watch my face drop as I figured out that I was being laid off from not one but two of my jobs, the two jobs that I have, and what that meant for me. And that felt really big. Japan being another big thing that I'm having a hard time focusing on right now. The fact that I don't know exactly how my future lies with trying to get to Japan. All I know is that I'm definitely getting there, but having that uneasiness of when has been really pent up inside me, and sometimes I need to vent about it. Sometimes I need to be like, this could possibly suck really, really badly. How am I going to save? And all those big questions, it's just good to let them out. Sometimes just yelling out to the moon is the best way to do it. If you don't want to yell out to the moon, you are also welcome to come to me in my comments. If you have something big going on in your life that feels scary, it's not going to be minimized here. If it's something small and feels silly, that's okay too, because the little are also important. The little things that are going on in my life feel so much larger than they normally would because I am high strung. And while it can seem like you're complaining about things that don't matter, it's affecting you, and sometimes those little things really build up. So letting out those little things are okay too. I know I complained to my grandma for like way too long, for like 20 minutes, about the fact that there was no ice cream at my store. I had gone there on an essential trip and I had this in my head that I was going to be picking up my favorite ice cream. There wasn't only not my favorite ice cream, there was no ice cream. And it just really glitched me out for a good 20 minutes. It's not that big of a deal that I didn't have ice cream, but being able to talk about the small things and the large, I think can really help in this time. So go ahead, if you'd like to put a big thing that's going on in your life and a small thing in your life, feel free to do so. If you don't want to write about those things, that's okay. If you don't want to read about those things, that's okay too. The point of this entire video is to try and feel comfortable however you need to, and if that means not watching my videos or watching my videos or talking about what's going on or making sure that you're not focusing on it, do what is best for you, because that's all I'm doing right now, and reading Nevermore: The Trials of Morrigan Crow. This is the actual end of this video, and regardless of how you decide to curate your space, I hope you enjoy the sun or more stars wherever you are, and until next time, bye! I would... How she's going to... Quiet, Ima. Fairly easily... Why don't you come over here instead of yelling at me? Finally... Hey! That's rude. Stop it. She's being petty. I'm getting my cat. She's driving me nuts. You have so much food and yet you're crying at your food bowl. It is indeed noon 30. I don't know what I'm going to bed, because if you've ever played Sims, you know that that's a real dangerous place to be if you are in your house all day and you have Sims. Then at 4 p.m. I have family time. I'm upstairs with my little sister. I'm watching a show with my partner, or I'm organizing puzzle pieces for like 3 hours for my grandma. Yeah, it's been great. It has been great. That's me accidentally being optimistic.